On the morning of February 1st, 2026, when Nancy Guthrie failed to appear at her regular church service in Tucson, Arizona, a member of her congregation reached out to her family with concern. What began as a welfare check would rapidly transform into a high-profile missing persons investigation that has captured national attention, mobilized federal law enforcement resources, and left a prominent American family desperately searching for answers. Nancy Guthrie, an 84-year-old mother, grandmother, and longtime Tucson resident, is the mother of Savannah Guthrie, the well-known co-anchor of NBC's Today Show. Her disappearance from her home in the affluent Catalina Foothills neighborhood has prompted an intensive investigation involving the Pima County Sheriff's Department, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and specialized search and rescue teams. 1 week into the search, authorities continue to classify this as a suspected abduction, and Nancy Guthrie remains missing. Nancy Guthrie was last seen on the evening of January 31st, 2026. According to the timeline established by authorities, she had spent that Saturday evening with family members at her daughter Annie's home. She traveled there by Uber earlier in the evening and enjoyed dinner and games with her family, a typical gathering for the close-knit family. At approximately 9:48 p.m., her son-in-law, Tommaso Cioni, who is married to her daughter Annie, dropped Nancy off at her home in the Catalina Foothills area, located just north of Tucson. Security footage shows her garage door opening at 9:48 p.m. and closing at 9:50 p.m. Cioni is the last known person to have seen Nancy Guthrie, and authorities have indicated he is cooperating fully with the investigation. The following morning, when Nancy did not appear at church services as expected, a fellow parishioner became concerned and contacted the family. Nancy Guthrie is described by those who know her as a woman of deep faith and regular habits. Missing church without notice was highly unusual. At approximately 11:56 a.m. on February 1st, family members went to Nancy's home to check on her. They searched the house and surrounding property, but found no sign of her. Her personal belongings, including her cell phone, medication, and other essential items, were still inside the home. At 12:03 p.m., the family called 911 to report Nancy missing. When deputies from the Pima County Sheriff's Department arrived at the residence around 12:13 p.m., they immediately noted details that raised serious concerns. The investigation quickly evolved from a missing person case to a suspected criminal abduction. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos stated publicly that investigators believe Nancy was taken from her home against her will, describing the situation as a possible kidnapping or abduction. In a press conference held on February 5th, Sheriff Nanos provided a detailed timeline of the hours between when Nancy was last seen and when she was reported missing. According to this timeline, at 1:47 a.m. on February 1st, less than 4 hours after she arrived home, Nancy's doorbell camera disconnected. The camera itself is missing and not in the possession of authorities. At 2:12 a.m., camera software detected a person on one of the home's security cameras, but no video footage is available because the system lacked an active subscription service that would have saved the recording. Sheriff Nanos acknowledged that the detection could potentially have been an animal, but investigators are treating it as potentially significant. At 2:28 a.m., Nancy's pacemaker monitoring application showed a disconnection from her cell phone. This detail is particularly concerning given Nancy's health conditions. Nancy Guthrie relies on a pacemaker to regulate her heartbeat and requires daily medication for a chronic condition that, if missed, could prove fatal, according to authorities. She also has limited mobility. Family members have indicated she could not walk more than 50 yards independently. Despite these physical limitations, Family and law enforcement emphasize that Nancy is mentally sharp. Nancy Guthrie is of great, sound mind. This is not a dementia-related case, Sheriff Nanos stated. She is as sharp as a tack. Perhaps most disturbing among the evidence discovered at the scene was the presence of bloodstains on the front porch of Nancy's home. Sheriff Nanos confirmed that DNA testing definitively established that the blood belongs to Nancy Guthrie. Authorities have declined to comment on whether there was forced entry to the home, citing the ongoing investigation, though the presence of blood and the disconnected security equipment strongly suggest a violent encounter. The investigation has involved extensive forensic analysis of the crime scene. FBI agents and canine units have been seen at the property multiple times since Nancy's disappearance, conducting thorough searches and processing evidence. NBC News footage from February 6th showed a vehicle being towed from Nancy's residence as the FBI processed the home as a crime scene. The vehicle had previously been seen in her garage and is believed to belong to her. Law enforcement officials have also been searching for other vehicles that may or may not be connected to Nancy's disappearance, though specific details about these vehicles have not been publicly released. Authorities have spoken with various individuals as part of their investigation, including the Uber driver who transported Nancy to her daughter's home on the evening of January 31st. Sheriff Nanos indicated that investigators have been actively looking at everybody we come across in this case, but as of 1 week into the investigation, no suspect or person of interest has been publicly identified. Nobody has been ruled out, Nanos stated, emphasizing the thoroughness of the ongoing investigation. On February 5th, the FBI officially announced it was joining the investigation as a partner with the Pima County Sheriff's Department. Hythe Janke, the special agent in charge of the FBI's Phoenix Division, which oversees the Bureau's Tucson resident agency, announced that the FBI was offering a $50,000 reward for information leading to Nancy Guthrie's recovery and the arrest and conviction of anyone involved in her disappearance. The FBI has deployed agents and analysts to assist with the investigation and has been analyzing digital sources, including bank information, social media accounts, and phone company records in search of any digital footprint that might provide leads. Adding another layer of complexity and urgency to the case have been multiple alleged ransom demands. On February 2nd, a ransom note was reportedly sent to KOLD, the CBS affiliate in Tucson, via the station's online tip portal. The note allegedly demanded payment in Bitcoin cryptocurrency and included specific deadlines. According to information from law enforcement officials, the note referenced details that were publicly available, including mentions of an Apple Watch and a floodlight at Nancy's property. The first ransom note reportedly set a deadline of 5 p.m. on February 5th, with a second deadline established for February 9th. FBI Special Agent Janke stated at a news conference that the Bureau was taking the ransom communications seriously and investigating their legitimacy. Multiple media outlets received copies of ransom materials, and NBC News reviewed what authorities described as a possible ransom note, finding its contents consistent with descriptions provided by the FBI and news organizations. On February 4, 2 days after the initial ransom note surfaced, Nancy's daughter Annie and her husband Tommaso Cioni separately received text messages from the same phone number. The message read, "Did you get the Bitcoin? We're waiting on our end for the transaction." 3 minutes after these text messages were sent, a member of the Guthrie family received a phone call from the same number that lasted 9 seconds. Law enforcement traced the phone number and determined it was associated with a voice-over Internet Protocol service, a type of application that allows users to obtain a phone number separate from their regular wireless carrier number. The phone number was registered to an email address, derekcolella@gmail.com. This led to the arrest on February 6th of Derek Colella, a 42-year-old man from Hawthorne, California. Colella was charged with 2 federal crimes: transmitting an interstate demand for ransom for the release of a kidnapped person, and using a telecommunications device to send interstate messages and make an interstate call without disclosing his identity with intent to abuse, threaten, or harass. According to the federal complaint, after being read his Miranda rights, Colella admitted to sending the text messages and making the phone call. He stated that he had found the family's contact information online, had been following news coverage of Nancy's disappearance, and sent the messages to see if the family would respond. FBI Special Agent Carrie Witherspoon's complaint noted that Colella's fake ransom demand came shortly after Savannah Guthrie and her siblings posted a video on social media pleading for their mother's return. Importantly, authorities have stated that Colella's communications are not linked to the earlier ransom demand received on February 2nd, which is still under active investigation as potentially coming from an actual abductor. Colella appeared in federal court in Santa Ana, California on February 7th and was released on a $20,000 bond. His next court date is scheduled for February 12th. At his court appearance, FBI Special Agent Janke issued a warning. To those imposters who are trying to take advantage and profit from this situation, we will investigate and ensure you are held accountable for your actions. On February 6th, authorities announced they were investigating yet another new message regarding Nancy Guthrie. The Pima County Sheriff's Department stated on social media that investigators were actively inspecting the information provided in the message for its authenticity. Sources indicated to media outlets that this message was an email sent to a Tucson television station. The FBI has been working to determine whether this communication came from the same person or persons responsible for the February 2nd ransom note, a process that officials indicated could take time due to technical factors involved in authentication. Throughout this ordeal, the Guthrie family has made multiple public appeals for Nancy's safe return. On February 4, Savannah Guthrie posted an emotional video to her Instagram account, in which she appeared alongside her siblings, Annie and Cameron Guthrie. In the statement, Savannah spoke directly to her mother. "Mama, if you're listening, we need you to come home. We miss you. Our mom is our heart and our home. She is 84 years old. Her health, her heart, is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive. She needs it not to suffer." Savannah also addressed whoever might be holding her mother, acknowledging reports of ransom communications. "We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media," she said. "We are ready to talk." Given the ease with which voices and images can now be manipulated through technology, the family has requested confirmation that Nancy is alive and being held. "We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us," Savannah stated in the video. On February 5th, after the 5 p.m. deadline mentioned in the first ransom note had passed, Savannah's brother, Cameron Guthrie, released another video message on behalf of the family. "Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you," Cameron said. "We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact." On February 7, 1 week after Nancy's disappearance, the family released a third video that appeared to reference a specific message they had received. In this latest appeal, Savannah stated, "We received your message, and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace." She concluded by saying, This is very valuable to us, and we will pay," while holding hands with her siblings. The family did not provide specifics about what message they were referencing, and it remains unclear whether they have established direct communication with someone actually holding Nancy or with additional extortion attempts. The disappearance has had profound personal and professional impacts on the Guthrie family. Savannah Guthrie immediately traveled from New York to Tucson to participate in the search for her mother and has suspended her broadcasting duties. Most notably, she was scheduled to co-host the opening ceremonies of the 2026 Winter Olympics in Italy alongside her Today Show colleague Mike Gannon. She remained in Arizona instead, with Gannon acknowledging her absence during the broadcast. "She is dearly missed by everybody here," Gannon said. "We send our love and our prayers and our positive energy to Savannah tonight." The case has received support from the highest levels of government. President Donald Trump called Savannah Guthrie on February 4th to offer words of support. The call came shortly after an interview Savannah conducted with NBC nightly news anchor Tom Llamas. Following the conversation, President Trump posted on Truth Social that he would direct all federal law enforcement to be at the disposal of the Guthrie family and local law enforcement. The White House also posted information about Nancy Guthrie on its social media accounts, urging the public to report any relevant information to authorities. Nancy Guthrie was born Nancy McPike on January 27, 1942, in Fort Wright, Kentucky. She attended Notre Dame Academy, from which she graduated in 1959. The institution issued a statement offering prayers for Nancy and her family. Nancy has lived in the Tucson area for more than 5 decades, having moved there with her family in the early 1970s. She was married to Charles Guthrie until his death in 1988. She has 3 adult children, Savannah, Annie, and Cameron, all of whom have been actively involved in the search for their mother. According to family members, Nancy has been living independently in her Catalina Foothills home, maintaining her active lifestyle despite her age and physical limitations. She is described as a woman of deep faith, a devoted friend, someone who is funny, spunky, and clever. Her grandchildren, according to Savannah, adore her and crowd around her and cover her with kisses. Family members describe her as someone who chooses joy day after day, despite having already passed through great trials of pain and grief. As the investigation enters its 2nd week, authorities maintain they are operating from a position that Nancy Guthrie is still alive. "We still believe Nancy is still out there," Sheriff Nanos stated at a February 5th press conference. "We want her home." However, officials acknowledge the serious concerns posed by Nancy's medical needs and the passage of time. The fact that she requires daily medication that could be fatal if missed, combined with her limited mobility and the evidence of violence at the scene, makes this a race against time. The investigation continues to pursue multiple leads simultaneously. Law enforcement is analyzing the various ransom communications to determine which, if any, are legitimate. They are reviewing surveillance footage from the neighborhood, conducting forensic analysis of the crime scene, interviewing potential witnesses, and following up on tips from the public. The FBI has encouraged anyone with information to call 1-800-CALL-FBI or contact the Pima County Sheriff's Department at 520-351-4900. This case raises broader questions about elder safety, home security, and the vulnerability of aging adults living independently. The Catalina Foothills area where Nancy lived is generally considered a safe, affluent neighborhood with low crime rates. The apparent abduction of an 84-year-old woman from her home in such an area has shocked the community and raised concerns about security, even in supposedly safe neighborhoods. The presence of multiple alleged ransom demands, including at least one confirmed hoax attempt by Derek Kalila, highlights another troubling aspect of high-profile missing persons cases: the tendency for opportunists to attempt to exploit grieving families for financial gain. Law enforcement officials have been clear that they are prepared to investigate and prosecute anyone attempting to profit from Nancy's disappearance through false ransom demands. For Savannah Guthrie, a journalist who has spent her career reporting on news events affecting others, this case represents a deeply personal nightmare. She has transitioned from news anchor to desperate family member, using her public platform not to report the news, but to plead for her mother's safe return. Her visible anguish in the family's video statements has resonated with millions of Americans who have followed the case. As days pass without resolution, the questions multiply. Who took Nancy Guthrie, and why? Was this a random crime of opportunity, or was she specifically targeted? Are the ransom demands genuine attempts at extortion or cruel hoaxes? Most importantly, where is Nancy Guthrie now? And is she receiving the medical care she desperately needs? Law enforcement officials continue to appeal to the public for any information, no matter how small it might seem. They emphasize that someone, somewhere, knows something that could help bring Nancy home safely. Whether it's a neighbor who noticed unusual activity, someone who saw something suspicious, or information about vehicles or individuals in the area, any detail could prove crucial to solving this case. 1 week into this investigation, hope remains, but anxiety grows. The longer Nancy remains missing, the more concerned authorities and family members become about her well-being. Yet investigators maintain their commitment to finding answers and bringing Nancy home. The substantial FBI reward, the dedication of multiple law enforcement agencies, and the national attention focused on this case all reflect the determination to resolve it. This case continues to develop, with new information emerging regularly. The Guthrie family's willingness to communicate publicly, the law enforcement agencies' transparency about certain aspects of the investigation, and the public's engagement have all contributed to keeping Nancy's disappearance in the spotlight. But beyond the media attention and investigative resources, at the heart of this case is a family desperate to have their mother, grandmother, and friend returned to them safely. A woman they describe as their beacon, their heart, and their home.